I had stated very clearly at the beginning, attention, poison gas. Perhaps you misunderstood. Guten Morgen, gentlemen and ladies. World public health officials had dispatched to China a robust investigative team of some 1,800 teams of at least 5 epidemiologists. After having examined some 55,924 laboratory-confirmed cases of COVID-19 by the end of February 2020, which incidentally and empirically is 19 times more cases than had yet been reported in the entire United States by mid-March 2020. No small effort for those who are passionate about evidence-based policy. In strong recommendation to other nations anticipating or preparing to receive rightly understood, not exported, but rather imported cases, it was their prudent advice and recommendation to fully educate the general public on the seriousness of COVID-19 and their individual roles in a communal responsibility for preventing its spread. And more than 4 years after the start of the global pandemic, which would be rather redundant to say, some have expressed a deep concern that there has yet to be a comprehensive forensic investigation into its origins. To err is human, perhaps, but some have further suggested that a failure to comprehensively investigate the zoonotic origin through collaborative and carefully coordinated studies would leave the world vulnerable to future pandemics arising from the very same activities that have repeatedly put us on a collision course with novel viruses. Surely we have learned by now, under extraordinary evolutionary pressure, that we underestimate this virus at our own peril. And this virus, of an etiology quite singular, has fooled us, plural of I, before. This virus isn't stupid. This informational briefing, of course, gentlemen and ladies, is unclassified, and many have suggested, at least at the beginning of what had been described as a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic by public officials, characterized as threatening irreparable harm to an unknown and unknowable number of people, and prudently warranted in an abundance of caution that the scope of a court's review must be limited to a determination of whether an executive's actions were taken in good faith and whether there was some factual basis for those executive decisions, that the restrictions imposed were in fact necessary to maintain order. But holding in abeyance the fact that traditionally courts have eschewed speculative harms and damages. Historically, mere epidemics are a time of fear, confusion, and helplessness. Dare say despair, which found some 24% of atheists in pandemic praying for an end. And this is most particularly so for the less educated, providing more than ample opportunity for exertion of undue influence, exploitation, and profiteering. Power tends to corrupt. Absolute power, absolutely. And our courts have recognized that all power may be abused if placed in unworthy hands. If men were angels, government would not be necessary. And so while the courts cannot prevent abuses of power, nonetheless, at some future point, they can sometimes correct it. But to fix a problem, you have to know first that a problem exists. You cannot hit a target that you don't even have. That should be common sense. In summary, under Executive Order 12958, in no case shall information be classified in order to conceal violations of law, inefficiency, or administrative error, prevent embarrassment to a person, organization, or agency, restrain competition, or to prevent or delay the release of information that does not require protection in the interest of national security. And for the purposes of the order, information means any knowledge that can be communicated or documentary material, regardless of its physical form or characteristics, that is owned by, produced by, or for, or is under the control of the United States government. Under the Supreme Court holding in Association for Molecular Pathology v. Myriad Genetics, Inc., a naturally occurring element is a product of nature and not patent eligible merely because it has been isolated. But that element is patent eligible because it is not naturally occurring, and standard metrics for COVID-19 could not be classified as a matter of law unless the virus had been cultivated in a laboratory, that in which the government had some proprietary interest. This briefing is, of course, unclassified. I had stated very clearly at the beginning, attention, Poise and gas. Perhaps you misunderstood. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest.